Frankly, the worst thing you can do in an interview is when that recruiter asks, do you have any questions for me, that you say, no, I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, but I'm good. I've talked about this on TikTok, on Instagram, probably in my sleep, but I think it is so stinking important for you to have strong questions to ask at the end of every single interview. Hello, and thank you for clicking on this video and hanging out with me for a little bit. My name is Emily Durham. I'm a senior recruiter, a career coach, and the host of the Straight Shooter Recruiter podcast. And my whole world is making sure you feel confident and comfortable in your career. And frankly, I just want you to thrive in your 9 to 5 and beyond. That's really what we do here on this channel and on all of my channels. Asking great questions in interviews helps cement your interest and show that you've done research, and it helps you stand out and become automatically more memorable. And I know this works because I hear this feedback from my hiring managers I work with. They love seeing people who ask strong questions. Okay, so there's 3 categories of questions you can ask in these situations at the end of the interview. There's personal questions, questions about you, and then questions about the company. Before you go into any interview, it's a great idea that you do research about who is interviewing you by looking them up on LinkedIn. I know it feels creepy, but it helps build a personal connection and helps you prepare some really strong questions. So when the recruiter does ask, do you have any questions? You can ask things like this. I saw on LinkedIn you've been at this company for 5 years. What are a couple of the things that really keep you here and engaged? I saw on LinkedIn you've had a couple of different positions at the company. What were some of your biggest learnings and adjustments as you moved roles? I saw prior to this you worked in finance, now you work in tech. What were some of the big transitions or things you wish you knew before? I love personal style questions because they really help show that you did research and helps to build that personal one-on-one connection. Next up is questions about you. These are actually some of my favorite questions to ask because they really can help you understand if this company is a good fit for you as well. Some of my favorites that you can ask. Of course, I've taken a look at the job description, but what are some of the things you think are super important for this person to be successful in role? What do you think is going to be the most challenging aspect of this position for the person who moves into the role? What do you think career growth and succession planning will look like for this position? And the kicker, do you have any reservations about me as a candidate? Now this one's a little bold and crazy. Don't use this if you think you had a bad interview, because you're essentially opening the door for the recruiter to tell you all of the things they don't love about you. But why I recommend asking this question is because it's an opportunity for you to put their fears to bed. If they say, you're fantastic, but my concern is you don't have enough experience, it gives you a chance to sell and go back and say, totally hear you. I may not have 8 years of experience like listed on the job description, but here's what I do have, blah, 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 blah. It gives you one more chance to seal the deal, sell, and get to the root of their concern so you can fix it. And you can ask questions about the company. I'm gonna be honest, these are my least favorite questions to ask because they can often come across as lazy if they're not done well. It's not a good idea for you to be asking questions about the company that frankly your ass could Google, okay? If you're gonna ask about what your earnings were last year or some of your recent acquisitions, Google it, okay? If you're asking the person questions that you could have found on your own, that's actually gonna do more harm than good. But if you do wanna learn a little bit about the company, these are the questions I would recommend doing. I see on your website, loving customers is a part of your culture. What are some of the ways that that comes through for this role and in this team? I saw on the company website that you have the goal of being the #1 tech supplier in the United States by the end of the year. What are some of the things the team is working on to get there, and how will that impact this position? See what I'm doing here? I'm going and doing a little bit of research and using that to inform questions. So if you want to ask questions about the company, make sure they're backed by data and research you've done on their careers website. You could also ask the classic, why do you like working here? It's a good question. It's just not that memorable. And if our goal is to be memorable and stand out, let's switch it up. Let's be a little bit more creative than that. Short and sweet, just like me. I hope this video was helpful, especially if you're preparing for an interview. You're going to be fantastic. If you need some help prepping for the interview or negotiating that job offer, I have so much content on this page, as well as my podcast, which you can find on Spotify, Apple, basically anywhere that you listen to podcasts. But thank you so much for hanging out, and if you enjoyed this, leave a little like. Don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate you, and I'll talk to you in my next video.